Hello, I'm Kimberly Stephen Tate, and welcome to Make the Move to Maui. This is my inaugural video, and because it is my first one, I'm going to share something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is how do you get your pets to Hawaii? I know that when we were researching, this was one of the most stressful things for us, trying to figure out how to get the pets over. Hawaii, a lot of folks may not realize, is rabies free, and they would like to stay that way. And because of that, they have a lot of requirements that you have to go through. It can feel a little daunting at first, but if you just follow the procedures, find someone that can help you, which I will share with you, and do everything well in advance of your move, you will be just fine, I promise. We managed to get over 4 dogs and a cat. That's right, a golden retriever, 2 beagles, a Jack Russell, and a tabby cat. So if we can move 5 animals, so can you. So in this video, we're going to share all of the processes on how you actually make this happen. The first thing I will say is it's very important that you do start your research early and that you start this conversation early, because if you do not follow the right procedure and maybe you make some mistakes along the way, not to scare anyone, but they can quarantine your pets upon arrival in Hawaii. We want to avoid this, and so you're going to go with a direct release program, and you're going to work closely with someone who I'm going to recommend in a little bit, and why. I'm going to tell you why I recommend this particular person. So we're going to make sure that your pet does not get quarantined. And by the way, you don't want that to happen not only because you do not want to be separated from what I consider to be my family members, but also because you actually have to pay for it if that happens. And Hawaii is already expensive enough without extra expenses that you didn't anticipate, right? So the first thing is, everything about this process is tied to your dog or cat's microchip number. It is the way in which when you get here, they can make sure that the pet that you have told them about is actually the pet that you're bringing with you. So if you do not already have it, I recommend a great first step is to get your pet microchipped. Secondly, because Maui and Hawaii is rabies free, a second step is to make sure that your pet has a current rabies vaccination. So they must have a current vaccination coming into the state. And then you have to have at least one other rabies vaccination. So that's sort of your second step. The third step is that you have to have a titer test. Basically what that's doing is you're going to have your vet do a blood sample of your pet's blood, and they're going to send it off to one of only 2 places in the country or approved places, I should say, in the country where they will test your pet for rabies antibodies. And again, this is one of those places where you would need that microchip, because you're going to have to, when you send off the test, submit the test with the rabies so that they can match the pet with that microchip number and the test results, okay? So your vet can help you with this. I highly recommend that as you seek out a vet, you may have a family vet that you've been working with for a long time, but I highly recommend that you ask your vet if they have ever worked with anybody who has shipped a pet or moved a pet over to Hawaii, because having someone who's more familiar with the process is incredibly important. The other thing to note is that this is not inexpensive. So at this point, we haven't spent a ton of money yet because we just have a current and a past rabies vaccination. I mentioned the titer test. This is going to be a hard pill to swallow, but the titer test can run you anywhere from, depending on where you live, $300 to $400 per pet. And that's not all the fees. We'll get into sort of the cost in a minute, but just be prepared that each pet you're going to spend $300 to $400 on this titer test. Trust me, we looked around to see if we could get a discount somewhere, and like they might give you a few bucks off of it if you have multiple pets, but it's pretty pricey, okay? The next thing that you're going to have to do once you have the 2 rabies and you have your titer test, and as you're starting to get closer to the time that you're moving to Hawaii, you're going to need to write a letter of intent to the Department of Agriculture, letting them know that you plan on bringing pets to Hawaii. And with that letter of intent, you're going to also fill out an import form and you're going to send a money order or cashier's check with your letter of intent and with your import form. The letter of intent, when you work with your direct release person, they will send you sort of a pre-form to give you an idea, and it will just say, it's really a pretty generic letter. You're just basically saying, hey, Department of Agriculture, I'm making a declaration that I plan to bring this pet with this microchip number, and you're signing it, right? And then you're filling out sort of this dossier or profile on each pet that's telling them, hey, this dog is 12, he's a beagle, he is black with white spots, he is or isn't a service animal. So super simple stuff, you just have to fill it out. So basically you're going to take your letter of intent, you're going to take your import form that you filled out, which is available online, and I'm going to give you, again, a resource that can help give you all of this. And then you're going to send your cashier money order and submit that to the Department of Agriculture. And essentially what you're doing in that step is you are getting permission from the state of Hawaii to bring your pet into Hawaii. And in tandem, you're now going to reach out to someone who's going to help you with direct release. So when everything goes perfectly well, in a few weeks, the Department of Agriculture will send you back these tags. They're orange, and some paperwork, and they're basically Department of Agriculture paperwork that you're going to hand to your direct release person when you get there. So one will be a big orange sticker that says OGG or whatever airport code that you have for which place in Hawaii that you're going. That will come in this package, and it will get attached the day that you leave from your departing city to your pet's crate. When you get to the airport, I wouldn't take it off until you get to the airport and let them help you with it. And then the second thing is going to be this permit paperwork that's giving you approval to bring your pet. You must give the original copy of that permit to the direct release person. So the minute you get that paperwork, I recommend you immediately make copies so that you personally have a copy, or if the airline says they need a copy, but do not give away your original copy of that permit paperwork that you get back from the Department of Agriculture. The next step that you are going to do is you're going to have to call and make plane arrangements, right? So as you make plane arrangements, what you want to make sure you do is call in advance. If you have a service pet, you're going to want to fill out a separate Department of Transportation form before you call the airlines. I did not know this. So if you have a service animal, a certified service animal, you must fill out a Department of Transportation service animal form first, and then you can call the travel agency or call the airlines. When you call the airlines, you're going to let them know how many pets you're bringing, and they're very, very stringent. A lot of people have been taking advantage of emotional support pets, and no judgment here, but there's just been a lot of cases of people who really probably didn't need emotional support animals, and maybe they didn't have trained emotional support animals, so the airlines have all gotten much stricter, in order to bring a pet on the plane sitting with you, the pet must fit under the seat. If the pet does not fit under the seat, which is very small, I mean, we're talking about an animal that's less than probably 15 pounds. If they do not meet that criteria, the only pet that can sit at your feet, and they must sit within the confines of your seating area, is a service animal. But you're going to call the airlines in advance, and I highly recommend, again, that you try to book as far in advance as humanly possible to make sure that you have options, because they only have a limited amount of pets that they allow in first class, only a limited amount they allow in the rest of the plane, and then only a limited amount that they allow underneath. And that has sort of like some weight restrictions because, different pets weigh different things. And so do that way in advance. And then the next thing is, as you're getting much closer to the date, you're going to fill out an airport inspection form or airport inspection questionnaire for the person that you're doing direct release. This is where we went with Maui Humane. His name is Jay. He's fantastic. We love him. reminder on payment, you've now paid for the rabies, you've paid for the titer test, you've now spent, I want to say it was $165 per pet to the Department of Agriculture to be able to get approval on that permit to bring them in. Now you're going to have to pay someone for direct release. There's tons of people that can do it. We chose to go with Maui Humane because the money goes to Maui Humane as opposed to just an independent person, and we felt good about knowing that the money goes to the shelter, which I think is a great way. Like, if you're gonna spend money, feel good knowing that the money is going to Maui Humane Shelter. So Jay can help you out. He's fantastic and just made the process so easy. And his email, Jay's email, is quarantine@mauihumanesociety.org. Again, quarantine@mauihumanesociety.org. So you're going to fill out this questionnaire for Jay as you get closer, and you're basically answer some basic things. Have you ever used direct release before? What date are you coming in? What airline are you coming in? What's your flight number? What is your name? What's your cell phone number so I can get in touch with you? What is the address that you'd like the permit mailed to? How would you like the permit set? What's your permit or your pet's name? What's their microchip number? What's their species? They're all pretty basic questions. And then will your pet be in cabin or in cargo with you, or in some cases you may have both. This helps Jay, or whoever your direct release person is, coordinate with the Department of Agriculture, because basically the Department of Agriculture will work with your direct release person to make all the magic happen, to make sure that you are good to go. And so when we arrived, Jay met us at the actual, like at the airport inside where we got off the plane. He checked the microchips of our service dog and our cat that flew in cabin with us, and then our paperwork, and then he left and went, your pets that fly in cargo, they will automatically be sent to the Ag Center. So you will not go get your pets at baggage claim. They will automatically be sent, at least for Maui, they will be sent to the Ag Center. Jay will meet you there, or whoever your direct release person is. He will have the pets. He'll check their microchips. He will get their paperwork. And then as long as you've done everything, as I've mentioned sort of from here, you will be good to go. So that's really how it works. The last thing that I forgot to mention was about the health certificate. And that is, so you filled out all your paperwork for Jay. You're now good to go. You're now getting a few days away from travel. Within 10 days of travel, it cannot exceed 10 days. It must be within 10 days of travel. You will need to take each pet to get a health certificate. Pro tip, if you have more than one pet, you can take them at the same time and let them do just one health certificate, so you're only toting around one piece of paper and then maybe some copies of that one piece of paper. The health certificate is basically going to be where your doctor gives, or your vet gives, Dr. Vet gives an examination to each pet, a thorough one, checks them, make sure they're good to fly, there's no concerns. He or she is going to make sure that they have their flea and tick. So they'll give you, they'll administer that if it's needed. They will give you all the things you need sort of on that last run. Like, they'll write down when their last rabies was. There's all the stuff that you need to capture. What vial of rabies it was, what its expiration date was, what type of flea and tick they got, when they got it, what brand it is, all that good stuff. I will also tell you, again, another reason why you have to have direct release is Maui has a list of approved products for flea and tick. There's some things that they do not, and again, this is all of Hawaii, not just Maui, but they do have a list of approved flea and tick, and so you want to make sure that you're working with the direct release. You're asking about that. Don't make assumptions. There was the product that we use for our dogs worked, but the product we used for our cat didn't. And so we had to pick a new product specifically to make sure that we could get into Maui, because the type of flea and tick that the cat was using had to be on the health certificate, and it had to be one that Maui approved of. So again, sort of one of your last things is getting that health certificate. And just like your permit from the Department of Ag, you absolutely have to give the original copy of the health certificate to the direct release person. And when I say the original copy, when your vet fills it out, he will fill, or she, or they, will fill out sort of this 3-part carbon paper, right? And so your vet will keep the original of this carbon paper, and that's fine, because I was like, are you sure you're supposed to take that? And so they'll rip that off, and then there'll be 2 copies left. They'll give you a copy, and then the other copy will get filed with the state that you live in today. And so that copy that is your copy, that is what you have to give directly to your direct release specialist. So make sure, again, you make copies of that. That can also be really helpful because you're moving and you're going to need a new vet. So I made extra copies so that I could just give that to the new vet as well, and also have copies for myself. And then sort of the last step is the day at the airport. You always need extra time at the airport when you're traveling with a pet that you intend to take with you on an airplane or in cargo. That's going to take more time because there's more paperwork you have to fill out at the actual airport. Plus they need to see the health certificate. Plus there's just a lot you have to do. I really think an hour and a half to 2 hours max is good enough. I don't think you need more than that. But don't come with 30 minutes to spare and think you're going to get through all of it, because it can be pretty time consuming. It took us about an hour and 15 minutes to get through that process. And then fortunately the gate process really didn't take that much. If you are bringing a service animal, which we did, again, this may vary from place to place, but my experience was basically I have a smaller service animal. And so I took off and put through the metal detector my service animal's gear. And then my spouse took off the cat gear, and we each went through the x-ray machine with our respective pet that we were carrying, our service animal. And then we were able to, as soon as we went through security, grab their gear back, put it back on, and then go through. So there's no, like you don't put your pet through the little x-ray conveyor belt. So just know that's sort of what the process looks like. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. Hopefully it gives you a great place to start. But again, like, this just gives you a high level overview of the things that you should be thinking about. If you're not sure on the cadencing, if you're not sure on the timing, really I highly recommend email quarantine@mauihumanesociety.org. And I wish you the very best of luck. Again, if we can bring over 4 dogs and a cat, you can too. So good luck, and I really do hope you make the move to Maui or make the move to Hawaii. I wish you the best of luck.